Wendy Herbert, who is our President and CEO, to begin the session and enjoy. Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. Welcome, everyone. I am really excited to be here, and I'd like to welcome you to the Life Sciences BC information session on BioTalent Canada's Student Work Placement Program, also referred to as SWPP. My name is Wendy Hurlbert. I'm the President and CEO of Life Sciences BC. For those of you that are not aware, we are a member-funded, not-for-profit organization representing academia, research, biotech, medtech, digital health, and all of those companies that actually work within the life sciences sector. So we have really enjoyed being a part of this to hear about, and please don't hesitate to reach out to myself or Ryan if you'd like further information about Life Sciences BC or our experiences with the program. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm joining this meeting from the ancestral, traditional, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. In addition, I'd like to acknowledge that our speakers and many of our participants are joining from other unceded Indigenous territories across this beautiful province and country. Before we begin, it's a tradition at our events that we welcome our new members. So here they are. These are the members that have joined over the last couple of months: Amplitude, Berkeley Canada, CBRE, Catson, McDermott Bull, Oak Bay Biosciences, Reboot Communications, Tourism Richmond, and Variational AI. So if you're on this meeting, thank you for joining us and welcome to the Life Sciences BC family. So as I said, I'm super pleased to be here today to share information about BioTalent's SWPP program, which provides funding for employers and students across Canada that many organizations have been able to take advantage of. Since 2017, BioTalent Canada's wage subsidy programs, including SWPP, have placed over 2,600 students with biotechnology companies across the country. As a direct response to COVID-19, which highlighted the already pressing need for additional healthcare workers in our system, BioTalent Canada's program has been extended to include the healthcare sector, which is what you're going to learn a lot more about today. Life Sciences BC and BioTalent Canada have forged a very strong partnership over the last few years, which we're really proud of. Here at Life Sciences BC, we know firsthand the advantages of this program, as we were able to hire 2 students, Eric and Stephanie, who've been an enormous help with a variety of activities, including business development, marketing, event planning, social media, virtual. They've educated us on a lot of virtual and digital tools, and we're really fortunate to have had them. As a not-for-profit, the funding received from the BioTalent programs has been invaluable to us. So today, in addition to learning about the programs, you'll hear from organizations that have taken advantage of it, advancing their business while helping young talent gain the skills needed to grow the biotech and healthcare sectors. So as Ryan mentioned, you're going to hear from 4 speakers: Joanne Jordan from BioTalent Canada, Steph Sharp from 3DQ Systems, Jennifer Cox from Chinook, and Tina Lee from UBC. I'll give a further introduction to them just before they speak. So we encourage you to share on social media this event with the hashtag LSBC events or our handle at Life Sciences BC. After our 4 speakers have spoken, we'll have a Q&A. As Ryan mentioned, please add your questions to the Q&A. I will be monitoring it through everyone speaking so that I can facilitate the questions at the end of this session. We also will keep a record of the questions. If there are a lot of them and we run out of time, we'll be sure to pass them on to BioTalent Canada so people can get back to you directly. So please know that if we do run out of time, those questions will be answered. Our first speaker is Joanne Jordan. Joanne is the Business Development and Partnerships Officer at BioTalent Canada, where she's the main point of contact in managing relationships with BioTalent's partners. She holds a bachelor's degree in mathematics from Queen's University. She has 10 years experience in board management, fundraising, and event planning. And having worked previously in 2 SMEs, she knows firsthand the challenges facing startups and the challenge in finding and funding talent. She's very passionate about connecting talent across the country. And with that, Joanne, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Wendy, for that introduction. I appreciate that. So I'm just going to get started with sharing my screen. There we go. I'm really delighted to have this opportunity to speak with everybody here for two reasons, actually, because first and foremost, being the business development, I get to be involved in all of the projects and programs we have with BioTalent Canada. So that's really unique. But also I have one college and one university student living in my house right now, taking their courses online, and they are both registered in co-op. So I'm really looking forward to how we see how these things can be successful, because it's going to have a vested interest in my own house. So with that, I'm going to talk a little bit about BioTalent Canada. Obviously, we're going to be talking about our wage subsidies, in particular the Student Work Placement Program, as well as covering off some of the eligibility and flexibility that has come with our recent friend, COVID. With BioTalent Canada, I always say that without people, there is no science. And with that, our main goal is to connect the talent to the jobs in Canada's bioeconomy. And how we do that is actually the heart of it, in my opinion, is the wage subsidies. In doing the wage subsidies, for instance, we work very closely with post-secondary institutions, students, and employers across Canada. And then we can do the research to find out about talent gaps and skills shortages, because we're scientists at heart ourselves. So with that research, we have learned how we can help with professional development, such as with our online courses. We have some coming up for essential skills as well as technical fundamental skills. And then we further that study by doing labor market research to talk more about those skills, what we have currently as skills gaps and talent gaps, as well as what we predict in the future, as well as projects that revolve around the national occupational standards. So we can continue to document what those competencies are and ensure that we're connecting the talent to the jobs, and what we're launching at post-secondaries is in fact what our employers are looking to pick up. Now, I mentioned that research, and we work very closely with our national and provincial partners across Canada, as well as employers and post-secondary institutions. So this isn't just our research on our own. We have a lot of advanced committees who are working with us to try, again, to connect the talent to the jobs, working together. So let's talk a little bit about the wage subsidies. I always like to share a few success stories to begin with. This is a nice note that we received about one of our students. But what I found really interesting about Jenna's placement is in the time that she was there, just the short 4 months, she not only took the project she was working on, which was an app, but she built it, she tested it, and she brought it all the way to beta testing. And this to me really struck a chord, because I have had some students and some employers who have indicated that maybe a 4-month placement isn't enough time to get involved and provide the work integrated learning and training that is needed. But as it turns out in this case, it was exactly the opposite. Another great success story is Mina, who comes from Stem Cell Technologies out there in BC. And what I found great about Mina is not only did she have a wonderful work experience and obviously changed the face of stem cell technologies with her knowledge, but she also really got entrenched with the culture of stem cell technologies, and a lot of the feedback that we got was how involved she was with the culture and the people. So again, it's an example of where work integrated learning may just take off to be more than just the education and the work experience, but something a little bit deeper. So that got me to thinking, of course, like Wendy said, I have a math degree. And when I graduated a while ago, the options for me were CRA, banking, or since I was in Ottawa, I could go work for StatsCan. But ironically, I went on a tour of a facility back in November here in Eastern Ontario at Charles River Laboratories. And obviously it was filled with scientists and lots of research, animals, and testing. And I realized quite quickly that I could have used my math degree for good rather than evil banking. I could have used it to crunch the numbers, do the statistics that I loved, data analysis in the bioeconomy. And it was something that was just, never tried. I never tried, I didn't know. So on to the wage subsidies. We have two streams of wage subsidies with BioTalent Canada, one directed towards youth, STEM grads in particular, and the second one, it would be the Student Work Placement Program, as Wendy mentioned, dealing with healthcare and biosciences currently, offering employers 75% up to $7,500 per work placement. So the first wage subsidy I mentioned is in fact the Science Horizons. So for postgraduates, it's a great way for post-secondaries to stay in touch with their students. This particular program is for grads in STEM jobs working in environmental fields, offering employers 50% of the salary up to $15,000 for a 6-month placement. This is offered to youth under 31 years old, and the deadline is coming up shortly. So if there are any employers on the line that are looking to ask some questions about that, I encourage you to ask in the Q&A or touch base with me after the presentation. And of course, the Student Work Placement Program, as Wendy said, our SWPP. We are working right now with both biosciences and healthcare, offering 75% of a student's wages up to $7,500 for a work term. I use the term work term or placement for a 16-week period. So it's, traditionally where the co-op placements were, this is now what the placements stay. So we're in a 16-week work term. And what I really like about this, as I mentioned earlier, is this is a great connection between employers, students, and post-secondary institutions. This ensures that we know exactly what is being launched, what the programs are developing, and what kind of skills may or may not be there, and what we can all work on. Offering students, of course, the work integrated learning opportunities, getting them ready for their jobs, as I mentioned with my 2 examples, but also giving employers an opportunity to help shape the future of the workforce. For the employers, there are some eligibility criteria. Again, they need to provide full-time or part-time employment for up to 16 weeks. For the student, they can actually do a double duty and apply for a second 16-week term for those employers who are looking for a longer 8-month placement. As I mentioned, we are working in the bioeconomy and healthcare area. So the placements need to be at a bioeconomy employer or a healthcare employer, or the role that the student is fulfilling needs to fulfill a bioeconomy or healthcare role. So for instance, there's been a lot of talk about COVID, of course, in the past while. So that would be considered if there was a role that was being filled by a student that was COVID related, about regulations and sanitization and clinical requirements, that would be considered a healthcare role and could be at any sort of employer. For the employers, again, the wages cannot be combined with any other federal grant, and the students must be added to the employer's payroll. So that means CPP, EI, and all of the above. For the students, the eligibility requirements are that they do need to be enrolled in a post-secondary institution, either full-time or part-time. They do need to be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident or have refugee status, and they do need to be legally able to work in Canada. That is a criteria that you'd be surprised. As I mentioned, we have had a lot of changes to the program since COVID. So all these changes came late this spring and are in effect until March 31st, 2021. The first one, being the most exciting for the employers, is that there is no net new or baseline for students being hired. This used to be a criteria with SWPP programs so that employers would always continue to hire more students than the year before. However, with the challenges there are with the employment factors, employers can hire as many or as little students as they want and know that they can be have the wage subsidies for those students. As I mentioned, it's 75% of the wages for the employer, up to $7,500, and it can be backdated to May 25th, 2020. So if there are any students on the line or employers that had students hired over the summer term and had not been aware of this particular program, please reach out to my team and we'd be happy to help you out with that. And again, it does go until March 31st, 2021, these flexibility changes. For the employer, the pre-approval usually can take 1 or 2 days, and we encourage you to go through that process just to ensure that you're eligible to apply. Once an employer's application package has come in, it takes about 3 to 5 days to be approved, so long as all the paperwork is there and filled out correctly. And then the paperwork for the contract itself, for the wages, the claims, take about 3 to 5 weeks to be processed. Employers can access 75% of that 75% in advance, so long as they are an SME employer, less than 500 FTEs, and not a post-secondary institutions. Because of COVID, of course, students are eligible to work part-time or full-time or from home if needs be, which is very exciting and important in the bioeconomy, especially where lab work is considered. We have to rise above the challenges of COVID. Post-secondary institutions are able to hire their own students on campus to help with research projects or online learning challenges around COVID, and the start dates are flexible. Previously, they were very much following the co-op terms, September, April, January, but now because of our COVID situation, we are much more flexible with the start dates. If you had a position that you would like to fill in October and you have a student that's eligible to apply, I encourage you to do so and receive that funding. So as I mentioned, healthcare is new to BioTalent Canada. We've been working in this field since May, and the sector is quite huge. I encourage you to look at the list, but no, it's not limited to the ones I have on my sheet and on our website. It is a large area, and I encourage you to review it. The bioeconomy, of course, covers 4 different sectors, biohealth being one of them, which of course crosses over with a lot of the healthcare areas and sectors. So please reach out to my staff because we can help you assess whether or not your medical device is best off in the bioeconomy or biosciences or in the healthcare department, as an example. We also work in bioenergy, bioindustrial, and agrobiotech. So it covers a large array of fields between the bioeconomy and the healthcare. We are able to fund many students and offer many opportunities for subsidized wages for those employers. If you have specific questions, I know that I saw a few questions already coming up in the Q&A, and we'll be happy to answer those after the fact. I have our staff is available as well as myself throughout the rest of the presentation. I've also included some questions here for criteria or pre-approval and applications. We have several different staff in outreach on the particular project of SWPP, and of course our representative there, Sue in BC, who'd be more than happy to help you on your time zone. So with that, I thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Joanne. That was great. And we will be monitoring the questions. Some, if they're very specific, will be responded through the session by some of the BioTalent Canada team. Otherwise, we'll come to the questions at the end. So thank you, Joanne. Our next speaker is Steph Sharp, the co-founder and CEO of 3DQ Systems. 3DQ is a Vancouver startup developing smart manufacturing system that can provide solutions on demand at scale. As CEO, Steph is committed to establishing long-term relationships and business practices that are economically, socially, and environmentally sustainable. She's seen firsthand the power of 3D printing to provide local solutions to manufacturers, service providers, and retailers. 3DQ has developed and manufactured a wide range of solutions to address supply shortages, reduce lead time of new innovations by months, and quickly respond to the pandemic by providing critical medical supplies. I actually first met Steph in April, where she pivoted her organization to address some of the really pressing needs that were coming out of COVID. So it's great to see what 3DQ has been up, and it's lovely to have you as part of our life sciences family. And Steph, the stage is now yours.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you for having us. Yeah, so 3DQ, as was already mentioned, we accelerate innovation through automation of 3D printing. We're actually the first in the world to develop a digital manufacturing unit based on 3D printers. Since November, we've grown from 1 employee to 22, and primarily that is because of SWPP. So we're really pleased to be here, and we love the program. So we, as I say, digital manufacturing, and you can see here that we have 2 of our students working on the hardware, developing the hardware for our digital manufacturing, Stephen and Dominic, and they are doing all kinds of innovations. Again, that's world-leading innovations, innovating automation in areas that 3D printing currently isn't automated, like automated part release and bed leveling. All of our automation is, of course, driven by software. We have 2 students who are full stack developers working with our senior developer, and they get opportunities to do everything from APIs to working with Marlin firmware to working with Python. So broad range of experience, plus, of course, the user interface components. So I thought you might be interested in some specific projects. We believe that students can do a lot more than often they're kind of offered in co-ops, and I think 3 to 4 months is a great start. We love to have people longer, but 3 to 4 months they can do a lot. So for instance, you see here our event that we've done for Portable Electric. They are providing generators to deal with COVID, because their electric generators can be put in ICUs to run respirators. And to source those from China would have taken them a great deal of time. So our students designed and are printing those. And just yesterday, we finished a prototype for another medical company for a nebulizer. They're having a shortage of those. You can see the blue component is the T section that there's a shortage. So they wanted us to do that. And Kevin is our production lead. He makes sure that we can actually get these products done and out the door. And Manon helps us by reaching out to industry and letting them know what we do. He's our digital marketing intern. We've also developed what we call the EcoClean hand sanitizer dispenser. It contains the first 3D printed pump. And I thought you guys might find it interesting. It's made from plant-based plastics and chopsticks. And thought you'd particularly find it interesting that our interns are working on marketing the unit throughout Vancouver and the Lower Mainland. And we've been invited to a design show to feature it. But I also thought you'd be interested in seeing the actual 3D printing in place, because this is the gears for the pump. You can see it's printed in a single unit, and then they actually move to pump the sanitizer dispenser. And that was designed by our brilliant master's student from Emily Carr, Richard Kennedy, who also, again, SWPP. Then we also have developed a line of branded face shields for Fido, Rogers. We're doing proposals for President's Choice. And that initiative was started by Manahil, who she's also a SWPP funded student, and she's our business development intern. So all of these have been done within their time with us. And we really find the program pretty easy to apply for, but as you can imagine, anything where there is, paperwork and there's various steps that need to be taken, of course, takes some coordination. So we also hired a finance and accounting intern to help us deal with the onboarding of all of the other interns. So as I say, not only has this helped us develop our own systems, but by providing products for local manufacturers, for companies looking for solutions to deal with COVID, that allows us to experience our own equipment in use, and our students are really good at delivering finished products. So these teams have been responsible for everything from design to marketing and sales to all sorts of finance and accounting, engineering, and of course the production itself, and are learning valuable skills, including how to deal with supply chains, project management, bookkeeping systems, and of course working in a startup. And they are slightly half of our overall team, so we have 22 people altogether. And so we find the SWPP program very valuable for helping us grow as a startup and helping us respond to COVID. So we think it provides advantages for both sides, the students and the business owners, as well as a follow-on is our community, our customers, and people who would not have the products they have if it wasn't for SWPP. So we think it's a great way to help build up your company infrastructure and bring innovative ideas to the front line.
Thanks, Steph. Great overview, and it's really nice to catch up on what you've been up to since we last met. It's really amazing. I see questions are coming in on the Q&A, so thank you very much. There's some great questions there, which we will address as we have our Q&A. Our next speaker is Jennifer Cox. She is the Director of Biology at Chinook Therapeutics. Jennifer is originally from Nelson and has an undergraduate and graduate degrees from UVic and UBC respectively. She has a lot of experience in drug discovery, having held positions at NRmed, Genentech, Novo Nordisk, and Inception Scientists Canada. In January 2019, Jennifer and a core team of Inception Scientists employees transitioned to form Chinook Therapeutics, a new company focused on the discovery and development of precision medicines for kidney diseases. Through Jennifer's leadership and those of her peers, Chinook has experienced extraordinary success, and a company that we are super proud of as they're Vancouver-based. Chinook just recently was awarded the Emerging Company of the Year at the LSBC Awards, which we were so thrilled to be able to present to them. Jennifer, the stage is yours.
Great. Thank you, Wendy, for the introduction, and thank you to the organizers for the opportunity to share what Chinook has been doing, give a bit of an overview of Chinook as a company, and also our involvement with the SWPP program. So we should be good to go here.
Yep,
and great, thanks, Wendy. Yeah, so I don't have any exciting videos. It was really neat to hear what other local companies are up to. But I did want to give you, for those who aren't familiar with Chinook Therapeutics, I wanted to give you a little bit of the history and the mission of Chinook, as we are a company developing precision medicines for kidney diseases with our research group focused and located right here in Vancouver. So a number of years ago, in 2018, a group of us from Inception Sciences Canada started looking for new disease area opportunities. And when we started learning more about kidney disease in particular, we became really excited about the opportunities in this space and really firmly believe that the time is now for kidney disease drug development. This is based largely on the unmet medical need for the huge number of patients with kidney diseases. There's been very few new drugs approved for kidney diseases in the past 20 years, and the majority of therapeutics rely on just lowering blood pressure or repurposing drugs from other diseases to not really address the unmet or the underlying cause for the disease in these patients. In the research and clinical fields, there's emerging patient stratification approaches as well as translational platforms to really better understand the pathophysiology behind these diseases. Some of these technologies include single cell sequencing as well as organoid systems, which are models that we're utilizing to advance our programs. And finally, the FDA has been very active in the kidney space and has recently begun accepting surrogate endpoints, really based on that understanding of the pathophysiology. So this allows for a much more rapid regulatory path for our programs. So at Chinook, we are developing precision medicines for kidney disease, and our pipeline is driven by deep insights into kidney disease biology and is really focused on indications with validated pathways and rapid development opportunities. We use novel research strategies and leverage our talented research team as well as recent insights into kidney disease and novel translational models such as single cell RNA sequencing and the organoids, as I mentioned previously. We have an emerging preclinical pipeline with multiple programs advancing for rare, severe, chronic kidney diseases. And we have our first homegrown IND in progress right now for a compound called CHEK336, and that's planned in 2021. And then in addition, through partnering opportunities, we have 2 clinical stage programs for kidney disease. Atrasentan was in-licensed from AbbVie, and Bion 1301 is an Aduro asset. And these are both assets that are in ongoing and planned clinical trials for IgA nephropathy and other glomerular diseases. So as I mentioned, we founded Chinook. The idea came about in 2018, and we were formally launched in 2019. And in just a short time, we're quickly growing and advancing our programs. In 2020, we're very busy trying to initiate these clinical trials for atrasentan, doing the IND enabling study for CHEK336, which is the compound that we discovered within our research team for an ultra-rare disease, have deep preclinical pipeline, and are planning a merger with Aduro Biotech. In 2021, we'll continue to execute on those clinical programs and really expand our preclinical pipeline, as well as exploring potential partnerships. And our long-term vision for Chinook is really to be the leading company developing precision medicines for renal disease. And the guiding R&D principles to do this is really to focus on the key pathways in kidney disease, design novel, targeted and differentiated molecules, utilize new and efficient translational approaches to really speed up that research and development, and execute clinical trials in defined patient populations with surrogate endpoints. So that's a little bit about Chinook. When we were Inception Sciences and now as Chinook, we continue to employ co-op students continuously, and we've managed to keep doing that during COVID as well. Despite the many challenges, we had a lot of policies in place, and here you see two of our current co-op students that are funded by the SWPP program, Nathan and James, both wearing their masks for everyone's safety in the lab. So Nathan, just to introduce them, Nathan Nadeau is our current biology co-op. He's been with us since May and is doing an 8-month term. And he's been able to work on a number of different projects. One thing he's been working on is understanding atrasentan. So that's our late-stage clinical compound. It's an endothelin receptor A antagonist. And he's been doing mechanism of action studies to better understand how this compound could be acting in patients. And in addition, he's been doing some earlier preclinical work, performing enzyme and cell-based screening to identify which compounds look promising against certain targets. And, we've loved having both Nathan and James. Nathan says, working at Chinook Therapeutics has solidified my passion for drug discovery through the incredible mentorship of the research and leadership teams. The emphasis on cross-departmental learning allowed me not only to gain valuable knowledge outside of my previous experiences, but created an environment that fostered my growth as a scientist. So it's great to see that we're influencing the next generation of drug discoverers. And then James Guthrie in the chemistry group has been working on medicinal chemistry for preclinical targets, and then also got to work on our CHEK336 program by doing process chemistry and scaling up that compound to allow for IND enabling studies. And James said that being a part of the Chinook team has been an incredible experience. Their commitment to scientific excellence and devotion to improving the lives of people with kidney disease has propelled my development as a chemist and cemented my interest in drug discovery. And, both of these students have, contributed enormously to our research goals, and they actually both received, spot type awards or team awards in recognition of some of their key contributions. And I will say that the application process for SWPP was one of the best processes I've seen. It was really quick and straightforward, and Sue here in BC was outstanding at helping us through some of those details. And then my final plug is Chinook is quickly growing. As I mentioned, our research group is in Vancouver. We have some current openings in biology and chemistry, and then our clinical development team's down in Seattle. So yeah, I think when we started in 2018, we were about 15 people, and we expect to be over 90 by the end of this year. So please keep an eye on our careers page if you're looking for new opportunities. Thanks so much, and I'll be happy to take any questions after the session.
Thanks, Jennifer. I always love hearing about what's happening at Chinook. Our next speaker is Tina Lee. Tina is the Business Development Manager at the UBC Science Co-op Program. She's responsible for employer outreach with partners in life sciences, computer sciences, engineering, and the physics sectors. To date, Tina has helped grow the program into one of Canada's largest leading resources for employers seeking top student technical talent, and has developed multiple student employment partnerships with many organizations worldwide. With educational backgrounds in both science and management, Tina is well positioned for this role and is passionate towards listening to private and public sector employers' needs and helping them tap into UBC's talent. Over to you, Tina.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. So I will share screen quickly. There we go. So thanks again. So I'm Tina Lee. I'm the Business Development Manager of UBC Co-op Programs. Though I am here to represent only UBC Co-op Programs, I know that the success stories I'm about to mention is echoed across different universities' co-op programs as well. In the last few turbulent months, SWPP has served as a strong backbone for all academic co-op programs across the province, across the country, and as well as helping research teams and companies nationwide looking to fill junior or student positions. So in my presentation, I'll start off by sharing some successful stories, success trends that we observe with employers. Then it'll be followed by a quick Co-op 101 overview on who the students are, as well as how to hire students with us and how can we help you with your SWPP applications. So success stories. So one of the key successes our employers encounter with SWPP is realizing the broad range of positions that may be eligible for SWPP and how quickly they can find candidates through our co-op program, and also at the same time obtain the subsidy documents and submit their application. So as an example, from the moment an employer has a position available and posts a position with us, all the way to interviewing, making job offers, the process can wrap up in as quickly as 1 week. It typically takes 2 weeks, but if your position is urgent, as we've seen during the first few COVID months, we can make that happen. Our office assists with gathering any required documentations, as well as any other information you need for SWPP, so that you can submit the application as soon as the students accept your offer. Many employers don't realize how quickly the application result turnaround is with SWPP, and was hugely amazed to receive the subsidy within 5 business days from the time of application submission. So in essence, it can take as little as 1 week for you to find a suitable candidate and another week to receive the funding results. We have not seen any employers be turned away, and SWPP partners, especially BioTalent Canada, try their very best to qualify the student positions. So a common misconception is that the role must be wet lab related or technical. That is absolutely not true, as you've seen in earlier presentations. We've had students be hired under SWPP for medical office assistant roles, marketing rep role for a food company, ranging all the way to helping with community outreach, project management, and so on. So whatever your business needs are, and as long as the position provides students with a learning work experience and learning value, they will most likely qualify. So a rule of thumb that we typically would tell employers is, if you ever think your position or your company may not qualify, just let us know. We'll help you find a way to see how we can make it happen. And if for some reason BioTalent Canada cannot approve your position, there are a number of other subsidy programs available as well. And we are more than happy to help you navigate that. At the end of the day, co-op programs, employers, well, we're all working together to help resolve business hiring needs and help with creating student employment opportunities. BioTalent Canada, I have to say, has been extremely responsive with all the questions our employers have had. And it is not uncommon if our questions get answered in a matter of minutes. If not for sure, they will try their best to answer within 1 business day. So it never hurts to ask. Before I wrap up, I'll just quickly go over UBC co-op programs, on how long the students can work for, what their backgrounds are like, as well as how we can work together with recruitment. So co-op programs overview, last year alone, just to give you a feel of how large our program is, last year alone, we had more than 5,000 students working with companies, organizations worldwide, across Canada, across other continents. All of our faculties do have co-op programs. So we have science, engineering, arts, commerce, kinesiology. And when you post a position with us, it's not only posted with UBC Vancouver campus. We will, as appropriate, we will post with UBC Okanagan campus as well. So essentially, we're your one-stop shop to cast your net as wide as you can with gathering student applications. A common question that comes up is, are there deadlines to hire students? The quick answer is no. We actually have students available year-round. So essentially at the start of each accounting quarter or semester, if you like, we have a new group of students available. And they can work for anywhere from 3 to 16 months, with working in increments of 4 months being the most common, so 4, 8, 12, 16 months. But depending on your position needs, we're more than happy to see how we can make it work. And so anywhere in between would work. And co-op positions can be part-time or full-time. It can be in-person or remote or a combination of both. I like to just highlight that in the past, pre-COVID, I like to say, co-op positions had to be full-time paid, but because of different business needs, we're now, along with other co-op programs across the country, we're now all welcoming part-time paid positions as well. There we go. So just very quickly on what a co-op student's background looks like. So they're mostly undergraduate students in their 2nd to 4th year. They have been pre-screened by co-op coordinators. So they've been reviewed with resume, transcript, they've gone through in-person interview to screen for their communication skills. Once they're admitted to the program, they do go through career workshops, so they more or less know what to expect in their workplace. Some of our majors, we do have master level students as well. And yeah, the ones that have them include, as example, statistics, MBAs, engineering leadership, and so on. So just let us know if that's something you absolutely must look for. Our students may, when you receive their resumes, you will see that some of them may have relevant work experience already. So that could be within Canada or again, elsewhere in Germany, Singapore, within private and public industries. And again, students can work in a wide range of positions, technical, non-technical. So any position that's suitable for a junior staff, has learning value, would most likely be suitable. So how to hire? It's as simple as sending your job description either to my email or my colleague's email, or visiting our website. And from the point that this job description is submitted, within a few days or a week, depending on your needs, you will receive a link to review student applications and we'll get the process moving from there. In terms of what our co-op office supports, we do help with all communications with students so that employers aren't overwhelmed by all the students emailing them at the same time. So we assist with interview scheduling, job offer communications, and any other questions you have related to our program or students. As well mentioned earlier, we help employers navigate subsidies as well because there are many available, but BioTalent Canada is one that we work really closely with. So we're happy to answer questions, but we will of course direct you to the organizations. And we assist with gathering required documents. So the process is as smooth as it can be. So that's my last slide. So again, there's my email and our website. Please let us know if you have questions. Wendy? Wendy, you're on mute.
Yep, I saw. Thank you very much, Tina. That's great. That was a great overview. And wonderful to see so many student placements that are coming out of our academic institutions. So we're now turning to the Q&A, and I have been monitoring it. One that has, and Joanne, I think you're going to get most of these questions. So if you want to turn on your camera and your audio. One that I think has already been answered, but seems to be coming up quite frequently is, can a company apply for multiple subsidies simultaneously?
So yes, an employer is more than welcome to apply for more than one student placement. So they can have, there is no minimum and currently there's no maximum. There's no baseline for an employer to apply for students. I encourage them to hire 50 or 100. It'll be a little more paperwork, but we're happy to accept that.
Okay, that's great. And then there are questions about stacking. So could you, and maybe you can explain what stacking is, because I don't know if the broad audience will understand that question.
Of course, we get asked this question a lot. So there cannot be stacking with federal funds. And by that, what the exact answer is, ESDC provides the funds to BioTalent Canada to distribute through the SWPP program. So those are federal funds. So the 25% that the employer is putting forth for the wage for that particular placement cannot come from another federal source. So it has to come from the employer, from their wages, however they may be, but it cannot come from IRAP, NSERC, MyTax, etc.
Okay, that's great. I know that's a common question, so wanted to bring that to the forefront. Mm-hmm. And a question regarding co-ops. You know, obviously we all think of co-ops as undergrads, but can you comment on whether co-ops can be master's students or PhD students in the context of this program?
Yes, absolutely. The context of the program is, we were changing the term from co-op to work integrated learning. Now that's the wave of the future. So the programs are open to any post-secondary student enrolled part-time or full-time. So it is eligible for PhDs, masters, so long as they can fill out the paperwork and have somebody sign off the form from the post-secondary institution. I always encourage students to apply. It's one of the other questions that came up is how can they do this? And I said, you know, they are eligible to come to us to ask for pre-approval as well, because nothing looks better than a student going to a potential employer and saying, not only is my resume fantastic and I have all the experience you could possibly want, but I also come with a wage subsidy, is always a great value add for that employer. So that's something I encourage students to do. The package, as Tina was saying, is very straightforward and simple. The employer has one document to fill out, being the employer eligibility form. The rest of the paperwork can fall on the student, being that they have to fill out their own form, provide their transcript, their resume, their learning plan, and have their work integrated learning form, or co-op form, formerly known as, signed off by the post-secondary institution.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Another question about stacking funding. So you answered it about the federal programs, but as is common in the healthcare sector, organizations often get funding from nonprofits or provinces like Heart and Stroke Foundation, Michael Smith Foundation for Health Research. How does that come together? Because that's a little bit of a uniqueness within the healthcare system.
It is, and the best way I can answer that is, as long as it's not a federal grant, so if it comes from any other way and it's put into the budget line and taken out as a wage, then it is approved.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Jennifer, I have one for you, if you can come back.
Yeah, I'm here.
So somebody is asking, and I think it's probably a question that many people have, so consider it directed towards Chinook, but it's probably a broader question as well, is if you were to start working at Chinook, are there opportunities to grow into a business role? So I think this is one of these questions about, I start in science and what are the opportunities to evolve into different functions?
Yeah, so, Chinook is still pretty young in terms of just, so we haven't had examples of people, starting in research and shifting to business development yet. But I will say, that is often the path. So one of our business development colleagues, for example, used to be in research at the CDRD. So, she's kind of made that path. I would say that if you are applying for a research position that, at least for the time being, that you truly do love doing research and that you're not just using that as a stepping stone. We prioritize candidates that clearly have a passion for bench research. So I think there's probably a lot of different ways to get to that business development role, but just make sure that you're doing what you enjoy to get there. So, that would be my advice on that. But absolutely, we always look for development opportunities for our employees.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. Joanne, I need you back. So I think this question has already been answered, but just for further clarity, the digital supercluster, as you know, is very active across the country, in particular in BC, on some particular projects in the healthcare sector right now.
Yep.
So same question about funding, because the digital supercluster is typically program funding, not actually employee funding. So how does that relate, or is it one of those it depends questions?
That's going to be, I'm going to defer to it depends. I'll have to look into that one specifically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the person that asked that question, please reach out. You can contact us. I know you know how to get a hold of us. Otherwise, you can reach out to Sue Callahan, and she'll be able to help you navigate that path about the digital supercluster. Okay, Joanne, a question about the Science Horizons program. Is it open to the health research sector?
Again, that depends on the job description or company description to see how it falls under the green economy. So I encourage questions specific to particular jobs and roles to send those to us, where we can have the pre-approval, because it may fit under Science Horizons or may fit under another program. Okay.
That's perfect. Further to the MyTax federal funding question, is it correct that people need to ensure that they don't use SHRED for their 25% outlay or any tax write-off? And again, if that's we can take that offline.
I think we'll take that one offline, because I'm not too sure. I haven't had that question yet, so I'm not too sure how to answer that appropriately, but I'll get back to you on that one.
Okay, perfect. Now, Jennifer, people are always interested in Chinook. When we had our Career Connect Day last year that we partnered with BioTalent Canada on, Jennifer had a lineup across the room of people that want to learn about careers at Chinook. So this question, I don't know if you've seen it, how much of a perfect fit do you look for in applicants when it comes to applying for your research positions? And I'll just let you take that from there.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think a lot of our positions, we do look for some degree of industry training, and really take into account that co-op training as well. So, actually two of our research scientists actually that have stayed on were formerly co-op students at Chinook. So, I think getting a co-op term within biotech is just such a great stepping stone. But, we do obviously train people on the job, and right now our openings are kind of geared towards more industry trained individuals, but coming next year we're going to expanding in biology, in particular our exploratory biology capabilities, and in that case we'll be looking more for people with specific skill sets, such as bioinformatics type training, organoid, cell biology. So I think coming with a unique skill set can also be a huge advantage. So keep an eye on our postings, or reach out to me for any specific questions.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. There was a question that I think you've already answered, Joanne, but in the chat, but probably worth just reiterating. Two of them actually, and then I'll close this off. One was around Can the employer apply in advance for the wage subsidy program before recruiting the student? And the other one is just confirmation that the SWPP program is active until March 31st, 2021.
Yep, those are great questions. So the employer can write to us for pre-approval at any time before March 31st, 2021. But the actual application cannot be approved itself until the student has been selected and all of those paperworks have been submitted. And the second question was for applying. So what happens is currently March 31st, 2021 is the date that all the flexibility stops and healthcare is no longer under our wheelhouse. Between now and March 31st, 2021, that may change, but currently I can guarantee that 75% is available as far back as May 25th, 2020, and as far forward as March 31st, 2021. So pre-approval, post-secondaries applying, 75%, receiving 75% in advance, that is all available until March 31st, 2021.
Okay, thanks very much, Joanne. That's great. I'm noticing the time and I want to thank everybody for attending. It was great. I want to thank the LSBC and BioTalent team for the work in putting together this incredibly informative webinar. And our presenters, Jennifer, Steph, and Tina. That was fantastic. It's always lovely to hear the stories and to hear how you've been able to take advantage of this program. As I often say, there's a lot of funding programs available, and it would be a shame if we didn't take advantage of it. So please continue to take advantage of it. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Sue Callahan, who's your local BC, BioTalent Life Sciences BC rep. Or, and if you need her contact details, you can go on either of our websites or just reach out to anybody at LSBC and we can help connect you. Special thanks to Sue Callahan, who really was the person that put together this webinar. So great job, Sue. I know it was a lot of work to get us to this point. And lastly, just want to draw your attention to some of the events that LSBC has coming up. We are leading a delegation of Western Canadian companies to the MedTech conference next week, which is virtual. It was originally held was supposed to be held in Toronto. So there's a large Canadian contingent that is still trying to create that experience of it being hosted in Canada. We have our Gowlings event focused on intellectual property on October 15th. And we're carrying on with our showcase series virtually. So we'll be in Prince George on October 29th, really putting a spotlight on what's happening in Prince George in the life sciences sector. Our annual Investor Summit is November 2nd and 3rd. It will also be virtual. We're super excited because we already have almost 50 international investors signed up to come and see what BC Innovation is all about. So that will be great. We have our showcase series in Kelowna and then a member spotlight session with Sativa, which will be really interesting. And then with Ryan's creativity, we're going to have a virtual holiday party. So stay tuned for that on December 3rd. And then our showcase series in Surrey. With that, I will call this a wrap and thank you all for joining us and hope you have a great Thursday.
Thanks, Wendy.